Hi guys, this video is a monthly recap. That is, we're going to learn anything and everything about the wa particle, ga particle, and o particle. So let's go. The very first situation is one where the students tend to get mixed between when to use wa particle and when to use ga particle. Wa particle is used when you want to mark the main topic. For example, you can say これはバナナです。これはバナナです。But here you are marking the topic, which is the banana. When you want to use ga particle, what you had to say is to emphasize in the fact that this is a banana. So これがバナナです。これがバナナです。For example, you're teaching the names of the fruits to a child, and then he picks an apple and he starts saying, well, this apple is a banana. But you're like, no, no, no. これがバナナです。And then you make that remark in the fact that this is the banana, no the other fruit. Now we have situation number 2. And in this situation, we want to use the particle ga with the verbs imas and arimas, which means to have or to exist. So let's first remember that imas is used with living things such as people and animals. And then arimas is used for non-living things. So for example, you want to say ペットがいます。ペットがいます。I have a pet. Or you can say 車があります。車があります。Which means I have a car. Now let's go on situation number 3. In this situation, you want to use the particle ga to express some sort of desire, like I want to do this or I want this. So for that we use the word hoshi and the suffix tai when it comes with verbs. For example, you can say 車が欲しいです。車が欲しいです。I want a car. Or you can say 私はお茶が飲みたいです。私はお茶が飲みたいです。I want to drink tea. Now we're going to start with situation number 4. And this situation is when you want to express that you like something, 好きです, or that you hate something, 嫌いです. So we know the very common expression あなたのことが好きです。I like you. Or you can say バナナが好きです。I like bananas. Or you can say 猫が大嫌いです。I hate cats. Now we have situation number 5. And in this situation, we want to use the particle ga with the verbs wakaru, to understand, and dekiru, to be able to do something. For example, you can say 英語がわかります。英語がわかります。I understand English or I know English. 料理ができません。I can cook, and I honestly can cook. These two verbs are very common and people tend to use wa, which is a common mistake as well. When you use wa, you're kind of saying 英語はわかります。Kind of like I know English, but that's it. I don't know anything else. You want to say 英語がわかります。Now we have situation number 6. And in this situation, you want to use the particle ga with the words 上手 and 下手, which means that you're either very good at something or you're terrible at something. So for example, we have スポーツが下手です。スポーツが下手です。I am terrible at sports. Or you can say 田中さんは 料理が上手です meaning Tanaka is very good at cooking. Next we have situation number 7. And in this situation, you use the particle ga using adjectives to describe an object. For example, we have 公園の花がきれいです。公園の花がきれいです。The flowers in the park are so pretty. And you're emphasizing, you're giving that feeling that they're so pretty. We can also say 田中さんは背が高いです。Tanaka is tall. You don't really want to use the particle wa here because if you use the particle wa, you're trying to make a contrast. It's like the flowers are pretty, but there are some other flowers that are way more beautiful. So if you just want to really give that feeling, emphasizing on that trait, then you want to use the particle ga. Situation number 8. In this situation, you want to use the particle ga when you have a non-living thing plus a verb. For example, we have the sentence 今朝雨が降りました。今朝雨が降りました。This morning it rained because we have ame, which is a non-living thing, rain, plus 降りました, which is the verb, and those two together will have to be joined by the particle ga. Situation number 9. In this situation, you want to use the particle ga for any personal sensations. For example, pain or hunger, or that you're feeling hot, or those sensations, you will use ga. So the example can be 頭が痛い。頭が痛い。My head hurts. Or you can say, お腹が空いた。I'm so hungry. I'm hungry. So in those type of scenarios, you want to use the particle ga for personal sensations, personal feelings. Finally, we have situation number 10. And in this situation, you want to use the particle ga when you're bringing news. It can be bad news, good news, but not personal news. So you're talking about a third person. For example, you can say 先生が妊娠しました。先生が妊娠しました。My teacher got pregnant. And then using the ga particle brings that excitement. So if it's good news and you use the ga particle, it's like, oh, she got pregnant. I'm so happy about it. I feel that in my heart. And then if it's bad news, then using the ga particle, you're giving that feeling of empathy. Like, oh, I'm so sorry this bad news happened. You don't want to use wa because it sounds like you don't care, you don't have feelings towards the situation. So definitely you want to use the particle ga when expressing news about something that happened to someone or a place or like that. Let's now start by saying that the wa particle is well known as a topic marker. What does that mean? Well, what it means is that the listener wants to know anything and everything that comes after this particle. Let's say, for example, someone comes to me and they're like, oh, who are you? あなたは誰ですか? Then what I'm going to say is 私はリンシーです。私はリンシーです。Because the listener wants to know who I am as a person. So my answer is going to carry that wa particle along with an explanation that gives the answer to the listener. Now let's take, for example, the ga particle. The ga particle cares about anything and everything before this particle is used. Let's say, for example, I happen to break something at home and then my mom is like, who broke this? And then if I decide to be honest and I'm like, oh, I did it, then I will say 私が壊した。私が 壊した, saying it was me, the one who broke it. That is because the ga particle cares about the subject. It is a fact that something was broken by someone. What the listener wants to know is who was that someone, who was the person who did it. Now let's get into adjectives. I mentioned how the ga particle is used with adjectives, but especially if the adjectives are used to describe a person. That is because the ga particle gives a compliment, but the wa particle sometimes is also used with adjectives, especially if the adjective is describing something universal, something known. Let's say we want to say the snow is white. It is a fact that the snow is white. So you would say yuki wa shiroi desu. Yuki wa shiroi desu. That is the moment when you will use the particle wa with adjectives. Then what will happen if all suddenly the snow turns into red? Then because that would be like big news, then you will use the particle ga. Yuki ga akai desu. Yuki ga akai desu. It's like, oh my gosh, the snow is red now. This is the third moment where you must use the particle wa. Contrast. Let's say you want to say, I like bananas. Then you will say, banana ga suki desu. Banana ga suki desu. But what if you want to say, I like bananas, but I don't like apples? Then you will use the particle wa. Banana wa suki desu. Demo ringo wa kirai desu. One more time. Banana wa suki desu. Demo ringo wa kirai desu. And that's how you create that contrast. Let's start by saying that even though this particle is written as W-O in Japanese, it is actually pronounced as if it was just the letter O. O. And then the second thing that's important to mention is that if you look in any dictionary or textbook, what it's going to say is the wo particle takes a direct object. And I remember the very first time when I read this and I was like, what does that even mean? Well, what it means is that you must always have a subject. It can be a person, it can be an animal who is going to take an object and who is going to perform an action on that object. So the most common structure is subject, wa particle, object, o particle, and then verb. There are three main common categories where this particle is used. In the very first category, what we're going to see is that this particle is used with verbs that are very sedentary, that are like you will perform these verbs in a very single spot, like eating, drinking, and like that. And we're going to take a look at a couple of examples with our guest that we had today, Majin Buu from Dragon Ball. Let's take a look at what his daily life looks like in a couple of examples that will take this particle. Let's do this. 彼は食事を待っています。He is waiting for the food. 彼はパジャマを着ています。He is wearing pajamas. 彼は新聞を読みます。He reads a newspaper. 彼は歯を磨きます。He brushes his teeth. Let's remember that after you have mentioned the subject once, you don't have to keep repeating the subject over and over again, like I did in my examples. The reason why I did it there was because I wanted to emphasize in this structure that I mentioned previously. Subject, wa, object, o, and then the verb. Now let's take a look at the second category where the o particle is used. This category shows displacement, meaning that you are in point A and you want to go to point B. A couple of verbs exist that do this type of displacement motion but do not use the particle o, and instead they use other particles. But in this video I got a couple of examples that you will be perfectly okay by using the particle o. So I highly recommend you to practice the verbs shown in this video. So let's start. To start off with our examples, we can think of the verbs go up and go down. Kaidan o noboru, go up the stairs. Kaidan o oriru, go down the stairs. This verb oriru is also used with transportation, like a bus or like a train. And it means to get off from the bus or the train and so on. And it also takes the particle o. Next, we can have the verb to fly. And for this one, we can imagine an airplane or a bird or Superman flying up in the sky. And the example I got is Sora o tobu, Sora o tobu, fly in the sky. We can also start thinking about the streets or roads, and because they take us from point A to point B, these are a perfect example of what the particle o needs. So the examples I have are michi o aruku, walk on the road. Michi o toru, pass along the street. But of course, along with this, we can also think about places such as parks. The examples that I got for the parks are koen o hashiru, run in the park. Koen o sanpo suru, stroll in the park. And then finally, one of the most common structures that take us from one point to another would be a bridge. Hashi o wataru, cross the bridge. And then we have a third category for the particle o, and this is used with the verb deru to represent a point of departure. So let's suppose you are in such a hurry to go to the bathroom and you're like, oh my god, I gotta go to the bathroom. Then you ask someone, toire wa doko desu ka? And then that person comes to you and says, ano midori no doa o dete, migi ni magatte kudasai. So you ask, where is the toilet? And the person is, get from that green door and turn right. And then you finally find the toilet. So this is another situation where you will find the o particle to be used. Have you ever noticed that sometimes the ga particle and the o particle are used before a verb? This is because there are two different types of verbs, transitive verbs and intransitive verbs. Transitive verbs. You are transferring an action between a subject and an object. Let's say you want to say, I eat sushi. Watashi wa sushi o tabemasu. I'm transferring the action of eating between me and the sushi. So that is the main reason why it's called transitive. It transfers actions. Next we have the intransitive verbs. And the intransitive verbs take the particle ga. This case scenario is your object becomes a subject. And yes, I know this might sound a little bit confusing, but technically what it means is, let's say you want to say, I turn off the light. I would be the subject, the light would be the object, and turn off would be the verb. But what if the light turned off by itself? Like maybe the bulb died or burned out or something, and then it just poof turned off all by itself. Then that would be an intransitive verb. So now the light has become your subject who's performing the action of turning off, pretty much. So once again, I turn off the light. I, the subject, light, the object, turn off the verb. Versus the light turn off by itself. The light now is my subject and turn off is the verb. So there's not really an object right there. So that is what we call intransitive verbs. So far it looks very straightforward. You just have a subject, object, verb, or just a subject, verb, and that's it. The main problem is actually that when you are learning the verbs, the transitive and intransitive verbs, the verbs will be different. A lot of times they even share the same kanji, but the ending, the okurigana, will be different. So in the case of to open, we have akeru, which is transitive, and we have aku, which is intransitive. And these differences is what makes all the students kind of like crazy, like, oh, how am I gonna remember all of this? One big advice that teachers give to the students is the fact that it is a very, very good exercise to learn them in pairs, like you learn the transitive version and then the intransitive version together and in context. So learn them with an actual sentence. Let's start by taking a look at a couple of examples. How about if I want to say, I turn off the light. Watashi wa denki o keshimasu. Then how about if we want to say, the light is off. So it's already off, it already turned off by itself, or somebody turned it off earlier, it's off. Denki ga kiemasu. Next we can say the verb to turn on. Watashi wa denki o utsukemasu. What about if I want to say the light is on? It is already on. Nobody's turning it on, or I'm not turning it on. It's already on. Denki ga tsukimasu. Denki ga tsukimasu. The light is on. How about now the example of parking a car? You can say, Watashi wa kuruma o tomemasu. Watashi wa kuruma o tomemasu. Or we can just omit the subject and say, kuruma o tomemasu. Kuruma o tomemasu. But what if we want to say, well, the car is already parked. I'm not parking it, it's already, that's the state, it's already parked. Kuruma ga tomarimasu. Kuruma ga tomarimasu. The car is parked. Then how about I line up the book? Watashi wa hon o narabemasu. Watashi wa hon o narabemasu. But what if the book is already lined up and I'm just explaining that it's already lined up, right? Hon ga narabimasu. Hon ga narabimasu. And that explains the state of the book. If you're not too sure about which ones are which, the dictionary, usually when you look in the dictionary, it will tell you, well, this verb is intransitive, or this verb is transitive, or this verb can be either intransitive or transitive. Practice them in context, practice them with actual sentences. Don't be afraid when you're speaking, maybe you end up making a mistake. Japanese people will be able to understand. There might be a little bit of difficulty, but they will be able to understand. So if you like this video, Don't forget to give it thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel. That way I will be able to bring way more material like this for you. So thank you so much for watching, and yeah, matane. Bye bye.